I'm going to call the meeting to order. And approval of the minutes. For the record, there was a typo noted and addressed. Any other changes or corrections? If not, other than the typo, we'll go ahead and consider those approved. And next is a public hearing. This will be Summergate Properties Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2021-36, extension of Metropolitan Urban Service Area, northeast corner of 316 and Michael. John Hinsman with.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. Tonight we have before us a comprehensive plan amendment in which we are looking to extend the Metropolitan Urban Service Area boundary to incorporate property for new development. I'll go through a little bit about what that means and what it involves and where this at is in the development process. So the property before us is located here on the screen. It is generally known as the best development property. It is 72 acres. Red Wing Boulevard, Highway 316 is located here. This is Tuttle Drive, Michael Avenue, Hope Lutheran Church. So this is really the south entrance into the city. If you're coming up from Red Wing, this is the last vacant land here before you get into the city. As we take a look at what this is and how this fits into our plans, this is something that was noted in our comprehensive plan as far as land use. We looked at extensions beyond our city limits for future development and annexation. This property here was guided for low residential development. That's what's being proposed with the subdivision, or not subdivision tonight, but plan as it comes forward in the future. With Metropolitan Council rules, however, when we extend the MUSA boundary, we need to amend the comprehensive plan. So tonight, we're not changing land use. What we are doing is implementing that portion of the comprehensive plan that extends our sewer boundary a little bit further south. The MUSA boundary, the Metropolitan Urban Service Area boundary, is where sewer service is provided within the city. Sewer service equals developability into more urban lots, which you see surrounding this development. Without those services being present, you're limited and regulated only large acreage development. So it's an important aspect to development. What this development will eventually have is a preliminary plat that would come forward, final plat that would come forward that would look specifically at the development details. That is something that's forthcoming, is not coming forward tonight. Tonight we're looking at the comprehensive plan amendment, concept plan for development. The council will do something similar on this. The only addition they'll have is the action for annexation, which is essentially bringing property in from the adjoining township into the city limits of Hastings. So this is kind of the first round of that development. Noted in your packet here the differences between the comprehensive plan and zoning. Comprehensive plan, again, is our guide plan for development. Zoning is our rules as we move forward here. When you take a look at this land here and its attributes, you can see that it is pretty open farmland for most of the property here, being currently under agriculture. You can see this tree line area here on the squiggly line, which is forested, and then there's a slope that goes down into a prairie area, which is adjacent to an area to the north, which is controlled by the DNR, the Hastings Sand Coulees Scientific and Natural Area. So it's adjacent to that. The developable aspect of this property does not include the treed area or the sand coulee. It's really looking only at the area up here, the upland agriculture area. As noted, it's the concept plan for this would be for about 159 single-family homes. That is something that's consistent with our comprehensive plan. Looking at development around here, you've got single-family development to the north and South Pines. Thomas Avenue would be an extension coming south. Michael Avenue would be the main entrance into the development at this point, and the rest of the area surrounded is Marchand Township. Public notification, we did notify people out to 350 feet, have not heard any comment back at this time. Looking at the development a little more, this is our comprehensive plan map. This is officially what's being modified. The area here in black, where you see the hatched area, signifies areas which are termed stage 2 development, which means these are areas planned to come into the city limits of Hastings and are immediately adjacent. There's not a time frame associated for their development. They're just situated such that they're adjacent to the city and would be consistent with the plan to annex those in. And so that's what we have before us tonight. As we look at this, we're certainly supportive of it. The property's guided for low residential development. The conceptual plan's consistent with that, and the development stage map identifies the area for future extension. So this is what the official aspect we have tonight. Looking at the conceptual plan for development here, you can see it's a single-family development. This is the upland area up here. The slope, you can sort of see here from the topography lines heading down, is not going to be developed into lots. Entrances coming in on Michael, Thomas, and then internally served throughout the development. So that's what we have before you tonight. This is a public hearing. You may open it up at this time, or I can stand for any questions. I'll also note that we do have representatives here from Summergate if you have questions for them as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. And as you noted, this is a public hearing. Go ahead and open the public hearing now. If anybody wishes to speak, if you please go ahead and step up to the podium and then state your first and last name and your address or what company you're with for the record.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Brian Tucker. I'm with Summergate Development. We also have Jim Atkinson from our staff as well. And then we have property owners here tonight also. Just want to thank staff for their guidance and assistance through this process. They've been very helpful. One other thing to note is we have been having some ongoing dialogue with the DNR about their potential acquisition of that outlot area to include in their holdings for the SNA area. Nothing's committed yet, but we have been in preliminary discussions and expect that to continue. It's not, as you imagine, a real quick process, but if we were to develop this property and move forward, that would be our intent, is to continue to work with them. Otherwise, we're happy to answer questions, and I appreciate, again, John's assistance in this matter. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish? Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Daniel King. I'm the homeowner right here in the corner, adjacent to Steve Engstrom's place right here. I guess my biggest concern is going to be, once the homes are built and occupied, is children and trespassing on my property. I know there's not a lot that can be done about it, but I'm asking maybe the developer to please consider putting in a privacy fence for us of some kind. I don't have the money to surround my acreage with that. I can't speak for Steve, but I would like something that would at least tell people, please don't come in here. And I'm not anti-children or anything. I moved out there to get a little bit away, and I'm a retired firefighter, retired police officer. I like my peace and quiet. And I'm just asking if maybe you would ever consider maybe fencing in our two sides. It would probably be these dotted line areas right here. If that's something that you could do, that would really help me. If you don't mind, I'll get a business card from you before I leave. And I know Steve has some comments too, but I guess my biggest thing is privacy and the kids in there, because I don't want an accidental fire or, just coming onto my land without permission. I'm not an ogre, but I don't want my privacy. That's all I'm asking for. And I knew this could probably happen one day, but I've only been there 5 years. Steve's been, I think, over 20. It happens. It's development. It's what it is. But I'm just asking for some accommodation on that level. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
Steve Engstrom, 17162 Red Wing Boulevard in Hastings, Marchand Township. Property owner right here joining the property. My question, or my comment or concern along with Dan, is privacy and a request of fence. Another concern is the traffic that's going to feed this onto 316. What are your plans? How are you going to handle traffic coming into this development off of 316 and Michael Avenue? Is anyone here to comment?
Well, as far as commenting on the traffic, that would be something that we'd have to deal with at a later date, when the actual concept would come into play with MnDOT and so forth. Because MnDOT will have to, I'm assuming, weigh in at some point because of the right-of-ways. So nothing can go on 316 with a right-of-way unless MnDOT approves it. So they would be the one to actually do the traffic engineering study and then make that determination.
Our concern is the increase of traffic, this several hundred cars a day that would come in and off of there. We had a similar situation back when South Pines was in. 316 is generally really not, can't handle that type of traffic, coming back from 61, off of, at that intersection by the arena. I was trying to suggest some type of a controlled intersection there, whether it be roundabout or some other method. But I'd like to see that addressed. And also, if there is some type of a schedule or timing, the process for this, for the development.
Well, again, that would come later. This is a very, very first step in the whole process. This is just us looking at the plan itself, the comprehensive plan part of it for the city portion. There's still a lot of steps left. I mean, the city council is gonna have to look at the annexation. And then once the concept comes through, the developers would have to come through with a concept plan, and that has a whole different set of procedures that they have to go through. So I wouldn't know a time frame. I wouldn't even be able to even guess on what the time frame would be, but there's still a lot of steps left after tonight. This is just a look at the actual comprehensive plan and how this fits into it for the city. We're really not touching on the actual development or the traffic or things like that. That's all gonna be addressed later on in future meetings as the process goes on from here.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
So, yeah, I apologize, we don't have any of those answers right now, because kind of that's outside of what we're doing tonight. Tonight is strictly just looking at the plan itself, the comprehensive plan, and how the land use fits into the comp plan.
Okay, okay. Thank you for providing the information.
Absolutely. Do we have anyone else that wishes to speak?
One high-speed follow-up question.
Oh, come on in. Yeah.
You said MnDOT will be involved at some point?
John, I'm assuming so?
Okay,
Yes.
because we've had issues where I think you've been struck, maybe twice, coming down the hill as it starts to drop down into the coulee, maybe a blind driveway sign or something. I know that's their problem, but I just want to make sure it's thought about, so, thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm on the right track, right? Generally, anytime we're looking at adding right-of-ways or changing right-of-ways onto 316 or 61, I believe MnDOT has a process that any developer has to go through. John, if you want to expand on
Sure,
that just a little bit.
Yeah, sure, I can comment on that, a couple other things too, yeah. With what we're looking at today, we're looking at the conceptual plan of development here. And when we have the detailed plans for the layout, which will come with the plat application, which I would assume would be coming over the winter. We would re-notify people, we'd have more investigation on that. The main entrance coming in here is gonna be off Michael Avenue here. So this intersection here is gonna be studied to ensure its capability and capacity for handling the traffic, and see if there's any modifications that are necessary to that. So that we know is gonna be the main entrance in here. We'll have MnDOT's involvement in there to see what changes might be necessary for that intersection. That'll be coming later with the preliminary plat on the application here.
Okay, thanks. So yes, I encourage you to watch for the next meetings for the city council, because there's gonna be a few. You're gonna see this come up a few more times as it works itself through the process. So, yep, absolutely. Thanks.
Sure.
Anyone else have any questions? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
I think we have one, but I think he's here for another reason, so I'm gonna check that out. I don't see any raised hands.
No raised hands on Zoom, and then no other further discussion? Okay, if not, I'll close the public hearing. And we'll open it up for commissioners, comments, questions for John. Commissioner Matzke?
So when we extend the municipal service line, do we have a rough idea of what kind of extra affluent is going to be piped through our lines, and whether we can handle that? Our lines, our municipal service lines, where are we at with those? Do we have the capacity for that, and who would have to pay for that if it would have to be made better?
Sure, a good question there. When we do our comprehensive plan, there's a sewer system chapter in there, sanitary sewer, in which we take a look at existing lines and we take a look at future capacity. And this goes out to, I think, 2050. It goes out probably another mile or so beyond here. Not that that's going to develop, if ever, but we take a look at these larger areas and the capacity for the systems to do it. This area does have that capacity. It's been planned to go out much further, and that's also dependent upon the desire of property owners and other factors. But from a system capacity standpoint, the lines that feed into this development that'll eventually take it down to the sewer plant do have the capacity, yes.
Go ahead.
And a second question I would have, so if 316 does need a study done and road improvements are to be made, who would pay for those improvements? Does the city pay for those improvements, or does the developer pay for those improvements?
Commissioner, the developer would pay for those improvements, any improvements necessary to the right-of-way there. It's similar to, if you look back to, this county road improvements, but that Vermillion Acres senior housing development along County Road 7 and Village, in which there was turn lanes necessary for that development. That was the developer's charge to do that.
I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Peters?
So the area to the east that would never be, or sorry, to the west the east that would never be developed, why is that included in the potential land use change?
That's a good question. I think because it was the property that came in for annexation itself. But yeah, it's a good question. On our comprehensive plan, actually, if I go back one more here, you could see underneath the arrow that this line here corresponds with a different type of land use. So it shows this as being either park area and an upland conservation, I think, are the two terms it uses. So it doesn't identify the area along the slope or in the lowland for development. It protects that area.
Just a follow-up to that. So if the intention is to protect that area, why is it, should it be included in this land use change, or should it not be included?
Good question. It could go either or. Since it's not going to be developed, it doesn't have much function. However, the land use within the map here is going to override any ability to develop this property. So even though it's included in, there's prohibitions against development based upon this guidance.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Real quick, can I backtrack? I got one address, 17162. What was the other address? That's okay.
17150 Redwood Boulevard.
Thank you. Perfect, thank you. Commissioners? Commissioner Romans?
John, just quick, so on that comprehensive map, we're not changing any of the actual usage there. We're basically just drawing that red line down around there. So what usage is here is gonna be consistent. It just goes from the hatched line to the stage one.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. So that, yeah, nothing within the land uses, the colors on the map here would remain the same. This hatched would go away and it'd be the same as this. I should have explained when you take a look at this map here, it's a bit confusing because it doesn't have many denotations on it. But this red line here is the city limit line as it sits right now. The area that's in hatched are areas that are open for future annexation. Doesn't mean that they're imminent for annexation. It means that if a property owner came forward and it's adjacent to the city limits, we'd entertain that. And then we have other areas here that are in this kind of diagonal line. These are areas that are within the city limits but have not developed yet. So that's kind of the difference between these.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Tyken?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is great, and I understand it. Was it John? James? Steve, I'm sorry, guys. Stephen, okay. I understand it, but I hope you guys understand that we're really not looking at that other stuff tonight, but we will down the road.
We just never seen the process before.
Yeah, and I understand that. Before I joined the planning commission, I didn't know the process either. And just looking at this map is a great way for people to look at the future of the city. So when you buy land, if you're adjacent to the city, you can see actually how the city kind of envisions that developing down the road. So you can see that we kind of had that area in mind for future development. And tonight, we're not changing the red line. We're just changing the MUSA line, which isn't on this, right?
Right.
Correct? So it's not being annexed into the city today. We're just saying, we're gonna move the line for the sewer out to this property, but we still have to go by the comprehensive plan, which is the yellow, the green, the dark green, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I just look at the MUSA and expanding it, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Tyken. Commissioners? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Albert, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the comprehensive plan amendment, 2021-36 extension of the MUSA boundary, northeast corner of 316 Michael Avenue.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to approve by Commissioner Hubbard.
I'll
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Maskey, second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Yep, the recommendation, Mr. Chair, will go forward to the city council on the December 6th meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight. Okay, under other actions, we have Joe Schnell, site plan 2021-49, Jersey Mike's, 1217 Vermillion Street. And Justin has this one.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. The proposal for reconstruction of the property is gonna pretty much end up with kind of what you see there today as far as the layout and design of the site, although it's mostly all gonna be new. They're proposing to reconstruct the property that was most recently used by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. The site was originally constructed as a restaurant and will be reconstructed with a similar layout. This is a site plan showing how the site will be redesigned. And the use of the property as a restaurant is in line with the comprehensive plan as commercial in this corridor, along with the present zoning, which is C3, commercial. The building originally did have a drive-through, and the proposal is also including a drive-through on the west side of the site, where the building bumps out closer to the drive aisle, which makes a fairly long queue area for cars, which is important so they don't back up onto Vermillion Street. This is kind of a general picture of kind of how the site looks now. And I'd say the only changes to the site layout are going to be mostly the exit is going to taper kind of to more like one lane, which was a comment from the Minnesota Department of Transportation. They wanted to make sure that two cars weren't going to try to exit the site side by side at the same time. The landscaping, currently there's landscaping on the site which will be saved with the addition of new landscaping being added around the building and a couple new trees on the front side of the site. There's currently a privacy fence along the back property line between the site and residential properties to the east, which will remain. And I think there's some repairs that'll be done to that existing fence. And these are the elevation drawings of the front of the building on the west elevation and the rear. The building materials are gonna be mostly stucco. There'll also be some commercial paneling and metal panels along the top. And here's the north elevation, where it shows the drive-through on the west, towards the west end of the building. And then on the bottom of this screen is the south elevation. And staff recommends approval of the site plan, with the recommendation for the conditions that are included in the staff report. And so, I believe the applicants are here, can answer any questions, otherwise I can stand for any questions.
Thank you, Justin. I do have one quick question. This is a complete tear down and rebuild of the structure itself, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because right now, there's currently not enough room back there for two cars to squeeze by each other, so I'm assuming the new building is gonna be shortened up a little bit.
Yeah, I believe there's an addition on that back of that current building, was kind of like, for car washing and maintenance.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that's gonna be included. I think the building is a little bit, they're pretty close in size, but yeah, it's not gonna be as deep.
Okay. Thanks. Commissioners, any questions, comments for Justin? Commissioner Halpert?
Justin, looking at the required parking, it says the requirement is 1 per 3 seats, and they're proposing 12. Where's the staff gonna park? Because if you have 4 cars for staff members, that brings you down to 8 spots, which would fall below the requirement.
Well, the requirement would take that into consideration. That's just how the parking is figured for a restaurant use, one of the ways of figuring parking.
Right, my concern is if there's, 4 or 5 cars that belong just to employees, it's only gonna leave a couple spots for.
Well, right, and I'm saying that was considered when that ordinance was adopted. Otherwise, they would have said, they need 1 space, per seat, plus so many for customers. That was taken into the equation when they had that requirement. I think it's worked well in other areas. I believe it's probably worked here. This might be, I don't recall, I wasn't here when this was a Taco John's, but I don't believe that there was any parking issues back then.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you, Commissioner Halpert. That's parking back in the backside, right? Up in the upper
Correct.
left? Upper left corner, or upper right corner of the picture. That's 1, 2, 3, 5 spaces proposed up there, is that right? It's probably where the employees will park, I'm assuming. So, okay. Do you have 5 people working at once even?
Jersey Mike's is not here, so we're just building the shell.
Oh, you're just building the shell, okay.
Build the building for them, they'll do the build out.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Can't really answer that.
That's okay, thank you. All right, Commissioners, any other questions? Commissioner Dyken?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we have ordinances about stacking? How many cars we can?
Oh, stacking? I don't believe so, but
Do you know how many this one can accommodate?
quite a few. This is pretty
Okay.
large. They'd be able to stack back to here. I didn't scale it out for the number, but that's as good a queuing, stacking area as we have for uses with the drive-through.
Okay. And I guess Jersey Mike's isn't here, so I don't know where they would park their semis to restock the store. Seems kind of tight in there, but otherwise, I think it's a great use of that building, 61. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chair, I'll note here too that we do have a representative online, Joe Schnell, the owner of the building. He did raise his hand up. I could bring him into the meeting if you'd like as well.
Sure, do we have any questions for Mr. Schnell, direct? Is he with Jersey Mike's?
He's one of the owners.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But he might be able to answer questions on that.
Sure, yeah, we can bring him in if
Okay.
any commissioners have any questions specifically for him. So is the entire drive-through gonna be on the north side then? Where you pay and where you pick up? So they'll be able to queue all the way back around and then all the way back?
That's correct.
Cause it's gonna be busy when it opens. And I already know that, just from experience with other ones. So, and that's not a lot of room on that property, so it's just one of those things that we think about, cause it's gonna be busy, so.
Mr. Chair, I'm trying to promote Mr. Schnell here. For some reason, it does not want me to do so. I'll keep,
Okay. Well, we'll make a note
There
of
we
any
go.
questions. Is he in?
yeah, as soon as I said that, he is in. Joe, if you want to unmute, you are on.
Joe, are you there? Hello? Hi, we can hear you.
All right, no, I was just gonna hit on that stacking, that's when I raised my hand there.
Okay,
The franchisee owner was actually saying that the drive-through isn't their main source of sandwiches going out the door, so he was happy with anything over 4 or 5 stacked up there, and that's more of like a 7 or 8, so.
okay, thanks. Commissioners, do you have questions for him direct? Commissioner Romans?
Quick question then, if the franchisee was saying that most of their business will not be coming through drive-through, is that enough parking then to accommodate, how many employees do they typically have in a facility like that, and how many, people are they running through an hour there? Because if you have a handicap spot here, so that one's not always usable, you have 5 spots in the back, so you're left with about 6 options there. So that is a bit tight.
Yeah, I'm just the property owner.
Okay.
Half of it, but I don't know any of that. I just know that he basically just said the drive-through is not, doesn't need to be a super big stack.
Okay. All right, I think that's all I have for questions right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Romans. Commissioners, any other questions for either our guests here or Mr. Schnell on Zoom? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Tyken?
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of the site plan for Jersey Mike's Restaurant, 2021-49 at 1217 Vermillion Street.
Okay, motion to approve, Commissioner Tyken,
I'll second.
second Commissioner King. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item will be brought forward with a recommendation of approval to City Council on December 6th for final action. Thank you.
And thanks, Mr. Schnell, for coming via Zoom, and thank you to our guests for coming tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, other business.
Other business, well, taking a look at council meeting we had on November 15th, a couple of items went forward there from Planning Commission. One of them was the definition of family discussion. Actually, that was to order a public hearing for the December 6th meeting, so that discussion will take place at that time and potential action. They did approve the comprehensive plan amendment for the mixed-use high residential district, so that is in place. And they are they're having a public hearing, and they took action on the downtown core zoning district as well to make those changes on the height. So those items were brought forward and action was taken on that. Also, the variance that moved forward with the recommendation of denial by Planning Commission. Council also felt that a denial was in order, and that was a unanimous vote as well. So that variance for Mr. Hyman on 5th Street was denied, and he's been made aware of that. So that's what we had for November 15th. As we move forward here in our planning, our next meeting will be December 13th. I do have one item on there already. A number of items related to the flats on 3rd Street, which is that 85-unit apartment building on the old UBC site. So we'll be taking a look at the rezoning, plat, site plan for that project. So those will all be coming forward. There's also going to be a neighborhood meeting happening on December 7th. Notification should be going out any day. When I get that, I'll get that over to you folks as well, so you're aware of that. So there'll be an opportunity for the neighboring residents to come forward and look at the project prior to the planning commission review on the 13th. So that's what I know at this point. We're also taking applications for various commissions, including this one here. I've had a few applications that come in, but still looking for more people. So if you're interested in serving on this commission, HEDRA, Heritage Preservation, Parks, a number of commission openings out there, contact City Hall. There's a quick information application that can be filled out, and then you could be considered to sit up here like these lovely folks. So that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, John. Commissioners, any other business other than have a happy Thanksgiving? And if not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Commissioner King, second.
I'll second.
Commissioner Romans, any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving.